James Brown, thanks for joining us. You've served in Iraq, you've served in Afghanistan, you've seen a lot of mates struggle with coming to grips with life back in Australia after military action. What are the key challenges?
Well, Chris, I've spent the last 2 years working for veterans full-time and talked to a lot of their families and looked at a lot of the issues. The challenges are across the board. We've just had the most comprehensive report on the veterans compensation and support system that's ever been done, and it recommended start again from scratch. There are fundamental problems. The system is complex, it's unfair, there are gaps, and people are falling through the cracks, and we've seen that particularly when we look at the number of veteran suicides we've had in the last few years.
What are the main challenges, though, that veterans face coming back into civilian life, and therefore where does the support need to focus?
Well, some of the challenges we've had in recent years are just the simple transition of veterans from Defence to the Department of Veteran Affairs. I mean, let's go right back to basics. We don't even know how many veterans there are in Australia because we've never asked, we've never collected the data, and we won't know that until the next census is done. But we think there's about 640,000. Only about 1 in 6 of those are on the books for DVA, and the process of getting out of Defence, getting to DVA is a very disruptive one, particularly for those that have medical injuries or mental health injuries. There's a lot of disruption there. Transition is where it all begins. But more broadly, we're trying to get this system to focus on outcomes, well-being for veterans, not just pushing cash out the door, but actually helping veterans to heal, helping them get back into jobs and helping them become productive members of society again. You know, there's only a few that struggle with their experience when they leave the military, but we absolutely owe it to them to do everything we can to pay back what they've done for Australia.
Yeah, when we look at those cases, as you say, way too many suicides and so many people with mental health problems and post-trauma issues, are the key problems here a lack of counselling, a lack of mental health support? Are there problems getting into civilian employment? You mentioned also problems with the bureaucracy and financial outcomes. What's the best way to cut through all of this and actually make a difference to those people who are having the most trouble?
Yeah, Chris, that's something I'll be speaking about at the Save Our Heroes Summit later today. But the key missing ingredient, in my view, is strong and sustained leadership. The veterans sector is crying out for it. We're spending billions. The problem isn't money. There are thousands of volunteers. There's so much good intention, and after things like Invictus, there's so much awareness of what veterans can do and where they need help as well. But what we're missing is strong and sustained leadership to bring it all together. And in history, we've seen that come in two ways. It either comes because Prime Ministers get involved and make it a personal issue for them to fix. We saw that with Billy Hughes after World War I. Or it's come from royal commissions, and we saw that in the 1920s. The system wasn't working, only a royal commission could cut through. So they're really the only two ways forward, because we've had 10 years of reviews. We've got report after report after report, but what we're not seeing is strong and sustained leadership to cut through and fix the problems that we know are there in the veterans system.
Well, when it comes to leadership then, how disappointed are you that this summit is on today and the Veterans Affairs Minister, Darren Chester, is not there?
Well, look, he's a busy man. He's got some of the most complex legislation to manage in the country, but I really think he needs to step up and get behind this push. We want to see him acknowledge the depth of issues in his portfolio. But, you know, the problems are bigger than just his portfolio. The problems are across government, and only top leadership bringing together all government agencies, all government departments, state governments too, can actually provide the leadership we need here. So it'd be great to have Darren Chester there today. It'd be great to have the Secretary of the Department there today. They're not, but I'm sure they'll hear the message loud and clear.
And just finally on that point, do you believe there is a requirement here for a Royal Commission?
I do. I just think there are so many issues here and we're seeing such lack of cut through. It is just taking so long to progress issues that are going to help veterans. I mean, we've had a proposal in to get funding for veteran sports, to get more veterans into sport, which is just such a powerful tool for good to make sure that veterans are happy and healthy. It's been sitting in the Minister's office since February and we haven't had a response. Things aren't moving fast enough, despite the best of intentions, despite the good work by the Minister and DVA. We need that Royal Commission to cut through and compel action and outcomes.
James Brown, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chris.